Welcome everyone to Mailed Fuzz News. I am Pierre, that is Connor, and this is your Thursday edition of the news. I have to think about it a little bit. We'll look through movie and TV news from the last day, or 2 days in this case, because there wasn't much yesterday. But we got some interesting tidbits. We'll start with TV, I think, today. I'll flip it around, because I think the juicier, interesting thing is here. That said, it is grain of salt territory right now. The source for this is not like, I don't know what small screen is, but I did see lots of other outlets re-reporting this and at least giving it rumor status, and it is of interest. So apparently talks are going on between Netflix and David Fincher for Mindhunter season 3.
Interesting.
Yeah. I want to be hopeful. Apparently, Fincher was down on it after season 2 for various reasons. But apparently, he's in much better spirits. Maybe he just need to go away and make a movie and come back, and now he's rejuvenated. And
it's possible, because I remember him talking about how the long hours kind of got to him with the writing.
Yeah.
Being such an overwhelming amount of content compared to just a movie, right? So maybe it's happening, but
I hope it does. I really like season 1 and 2. Admittedly, I think the previous plan to do like 7 seasons that goes all the way up to the 2000s, you might want to like maybe truncate that a little bit so that it's more feasible that we'll get the ending.
that would be nice.
So I don't know, because it wasn't like there was a big time jump between season 1 and 2, so there's still a lot of time to kind of skip through.
There's a lot
to get to that point, so we'll see. But apparently sources close to Netflix are saying these discussions are happening, and they're back on. So given the way they shoot Netflix shows, I do think it'll be easier for them to get the cast back, just because they tend to shoot it as a sort of just a slightly long movie. And I know saying slightly long is a bit weird because it's like 10 hours versus 2 hours of final content. But in the context of the shooting schedule for the actors, it's just
you
like
can
a big
book it
movie.
out like you do. You book out these few months like you would for a movie.
Yeah. And they're not huge stars that are in it, so they'll get them.
It's all just a matter of, do they have other ongoing gigs that will clash with each other more than anything?
I don't know. Well, I mean, Bill Tench wasn't in the Snyder Cut, so he's free.
Oh yeah, that explains everything.
He's free. I hope it happens though. Sticking with Netflix though for a little bit. We have a couple things. We do have one proper release date, but we have some release windows here. It's all just Q4 stuff, but Netflix confirmed 3 shows that are coming in Q4 2021. A couple of which were meant to be earlier but got delayed because obviously productions got paused at various points for the obvious reasons this past year. Witcher Season 2 is coming Q4. So is You, which I think is also Season 2. And then also Season 4 of Cobra Kai. So those 3 are all coming.
I was under the impression You was going to be Season 3.
Maybe it's Season 3.
Could be wrong.
I was just a guess. So I have no idea how many seasons of You there have been in so far. Don't take that as anything.
I think there's been 2, but maybe I'm projecting.
Yes. But it's Season 4 of Cobra Kai. And yes, so Cobra Kai I don't think was particularly delayed. That's just kind of when it's going to fall. But the other 2 were meant to be earlier and got pushed.
Yeah, Cobra Kai actually feels interesting because I feel like we've only just had a season of that not so long ago, whereas the others, it's a much bigger wait between seasons.
I mean, I don't know about you, but Witcher's a big budget set in a fantasy world thing.
Expensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Takes a long time to shoot. I imagine Cobra Kai, by comparison's a quick and cheap
I would like to assume so, otherwise someone is doing their job wrong. Or alternatively, they're doing their job very, very, very well on Witcher.
Yes. Yeah, very possibly. So there's that. And then the other thing that's from Netflix that actually has a date, or at least a month at the very least, is Master of None Season 3 is coming in May.
Didn't realize that was still happening.
There's no specific date. So it's just a month. So they've not announced the exact date yet. But I mean, I assume we're going to have it soon because it's next month.
Yeah, This is Netflix, so you'll get it in a week or two.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I saw season 1. I got why people liked it, but it just wasn't quite for me.
I liked season 1 a lot. By the time season 2 came out, I never got around to it, and like I said, I didn't even realize season 3 was still happening.
It's just there's something about the style of comedy on it that's just a little left to my taste, and not too far off, but just a little left to my taste.
Yeah, just off. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I wish I liked it, I really do, but unfortunately. So here's something that I know you're going to care about.
Mm-hmm.
Because your favorite show of all time. With the best endings of all time.
I don't hate it as much as most people.
I'm surprised you even know what I'm going to talk about here.
Oh, I've seen this news. There's no way. I know exactly what this is.
Like, I knew you knew what I was talking about when I mentioned the ending. Yeah, you had a very specific response for that. I'm like, oh, he actually knows what I'm talking about. So, How I Met Your Mother's getting a spin-off, apparently, or at least it's in development. It's in development. Hulu, Hulu is actually giving it a straight-to-series order. It's called How I Met Your Father. No shock. I mean, what else
this was in development
ages
somewhere
ago
for 4 years.
It was probably CBS because that's where
it probably was CBS. Yeah.
That's where the show aired. I don't know if Hilary Duff was attached to it then when they were doing the network
I don't think
version.
She was, because I don't remember ever hearing that part before.
But Hilary Duff is going to star in this, and creators Isaac Aptaker, I assume that is, and Elizabeth Berger are here on board. So yeah, this is so weird. Yeah, this was way back in 2014. They were working on the first version of this, but now I assume it's morphed and changed a bit since then. But I mean, even just being on Hulu, like, are they going to take advantage of the fact that it's on Hulu and make it a bit more mature? And I mean, not necessarily in terms of the comedy, but in terms of just like swearing and nudity and.
I kind of hope not, because there was a large part of charm with what they did to get around things on the network. Like, they had an ongoing thing where they wouldn't show them smoking weed. They would always, and it was framed as, he didn't want to tell his kids they were, smoking weed. So they used the euphemism eating a sandwich, and they would always have like a giant, big, like more than a foot long sandwich just in front of them that they would eat on whenever that came up. And they there's a lot of examples of that, and I think that added to its charm.
I mean, maybe
it's kind of part of the style of the show at that point. So I don't know if you'd want to get rid of that too much. But
then do you want to differentiate it because this might be a new show? So do you say this is going to be the raunchier version? Maybe
it's completely different creatives as well. Like, I know the original creators, I think they're technically involved presumably at a producer or executive producer level, but I don't think they have much involvement.
Yeah, I mean, I bailed on the show after a couple of seasons. I didn't like it. I mean, it had its moments, but after about 3 seasons, I was like, you know what, I'm out. I kind of hate Ted. I'm ready to go.
I can't really fault it on hating Ted. He's a bit of a douchebag, but it is one of my favorite sitcoms. I do love it. I love the way it. I think the thing that for me that I love is the way it plays with time and its framing device, and kind of at times uses that to wonderful effect and jumps around things. The 3 Days of Snow episode is my favorite by far, and that's really inventive with what it does with that. And that's kind of what I would hope continues in this new version. Like, you can obviously, there's going to be none of the same characters, and that's fine. And I just hope it continues to use that smart framing narrative as a comedic effect rather than just as this is the format.
So next up, we have more casting for Secret Invasion. This is the Disney Plus Marvel series. Of course, I just talked in the news the last episode about Olivia Williams. No. Yeah, Olivia Williams.
To me, Olivia's, damn it.
It is. I'm confusing it with a different actress here. I'm just double checking I've got the right name. I know who I mean in my head.
Confusing it with Olivia Colman.
I think I am.
I will say you would not be the first person to make that mistake.
It's Olivia Colman. It's not. Do you know what it is? Because Olivia Williams is on the Nevers, so she's in. Like, I was just talking about her.
I'd like to say
the other night.
You're definitely not the first person to make that mistake, because they do look fairly similar.
It's not about looks. This is just a name. This is just the Olivias. I don't think they look that much alike. This is just me crossing my streams with the names. Anyway, so Olivia Colman is going to be in Secret Invasion.
Better Olivia. Oh, I like that.
All right. Of course, Samuel Jackson's already confirmed. Ben Mendelsohn's already confirmed. They're reprising their roles, as you expect.
Sure.
Now, Amelia Clarke is there because every Marvel thing has to have one bad actor. So Amelia Clarke is joining the cast.
She's also now a comic book writer, apparently. Just also announced today.
I'll take your word for it. So it's
also
not...
she's not that bad.
Look, after Terminator Genesis, she's on my shit list forever.
I will not defend that movie, partially because I've not seen it and I don't dare, but also I believe that everyone in that movie is terrible.
Yes.
Everything about that movie is terrible by what I have seen of it in very brief snippets. So I will say, she's not that bad.
Yes.
In other stuff.
So we don't know what role she's going to play. They're keeping the plot details under wrap. Obviously, the plot of Secret Invasion is that the Skrulls have been secretly invading for a long time because they can shapeshift. So there's tons of people that turn out to be Skrulls. Skrulls. What I think, and I was saying this last time I brought it up, admittedly, but what I think is interesting is how many cameos do we get from here? Because this was a big line-wide comic event in the books where all the Avengers were involved. So I'll be curious to see how they sort of downsize it a bit, but I still expect there probably to be some fun cameos from heroes that they can get in for an episode or whatever. But
I would say a handful, because it's easy to schedule just little appearances like that for the most part.
Yeah, I expect some. And
to be fair, this is already just with those 4 cast members, a pretty good cast overall.
Yeah. All it's really lacking is the some of the actual superheroes. I mean, obviously you got Nick Fury and you got Talos, the Skrull, but it's just missing actual Avengers characters. And sure, maybe Amelia Clarke's going to be a new Avengers character, but she's not been introduced yet. So
I would like to say I'm impressed at you for remembering Ben Mendelsohn's character's name, because I would never have got that.
It's only because it was in the article when Coleman was cast 2 days ago.
All right, well. It was very honest of you to own up to that.
Yeah, well, next up, Ava DuVernay has got an animated series that's been ordered at Netflix, an adaptation of a family fantasy book series called Wings of Fire.
I'm in.
It's going to be adapted into 10 40-minute episodes. That's very specific. I like that, but I don't usually get that specific with these. But I'm
That's unusual.
Okay with it. The series is centered around a bitter war that has raged for generations between the dragon tribes who inhabit the epic world of Paria. According to prophecy, 5 young dragons will rise to end the bloodshed and bring peace back to the land. Raised and trained in secret from the time they were hatched, the Dragonettes of Destiny. Dragonettes of Destiny. Clay, Tsunami, Glory, Starflight, and Sunny embark on an evolving quest that will bring them face to face with their true selves and the overwhelming scope of this savage war they are destined to bring to an end. I mean, dragons are cool and all. I kind of hate everything I just read, though.
I'm sitting here trying to hold back a grin. This sounds wonderful.
This is...
I would like it. Yes, please. More 40-minute animated shows. I'm all for it. Treat them with respect.
Give me Toothless and Falcor. He's not a dragon technically, but he's kind of he's basically a half dragon. He's like a dragon dog. All right. So what else would you call him?
I don't know. I got nothing for you. You're not wrong.
Yes. So move on to movies. The movie stuff, and this first one is just kind of weird. So reported just last week or so, maybe 2 weeks ago, because Matt was on the news that day about how, and I said it was refreshing that Sony aren't starting their own streaming service because they instead made this big deal with Netflix that Netflix would get the first dibs at all of their streaming rights. I was like, oh, that's nice. They're realizing no one actually cares enough about Sony movies because Sony make mostly trash that they couldn't actually justify a streaming service for their library.
Hey. They made Venom. That deserves a streaming library.
Trash. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Venom and Bloodshot are made by the same company. They feel like they're a paired...
One is magnificently better than the other.
They're about equal. So
How dare you?
they're about equal. This is all started with Morbius, which will be the first one, which is coming on January the 21st, 2022. So they're going to get 18 months at Netflix. This was known. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I explaining this? Because for some reason, we also have a huge deal that's been announced that Disney, at least in the US, Disney Plus are going to have the Phase 2 rights. Which means that after those 18 months, all the Disney movies will then go to Disney Plus. So we can actually map out where these movies are going to be for an extended period of time, which is just confusing.
It's interesting in the sense of if you look at like Netflix as being the broadcast almost. You know, like when HBO would get the rights to the movies. You know, they get the broadcast rights and as a rule, not all movies, but a lot of them tend to get a broadcast window before they go to streaming. It's changed a little bit now with everyone having their own services, but that tended to be the system before, where you would get your theatrical, home release, broadcast, then streaming, kind of generally speaking in that order. And it feels to me they're kind of treating Netflix here in place of the broadcast, and then Disney are picking up the streaming, the long-term streaming rights.
Yeah, we don't actually know how long necessarily it will be. I mean, the deal here says the theatrical releases from 2022 to 2026 will move to Disney after their runs on Netflix. That's the exact wording. So maybe it needs to be re-upped. But it's interesting, though, that means a film that comes out at the end of 2026 would still be valid. So even if the deal runs out, the movies, like how long is the movie then that's at the end of 2026 going to be on Netflix, or on Disney Plus rather, until it either goes somewhere else or something? Do
we know from the previous part how quickly these movies will go to Netflix?
Oh, I don't know if it's specified. I would assume it's your typical...
Because I'm assuming it's not on the day of the home release.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they specified when they announced all that. I can't remember.
I'm thinking theoretically, you have your theatrical release, 3 months to your home release, and then another 3 months or so till it hits Netflix. 6 months after. So if a movie comes out in December 2026, Netflix around the middle of 2027 probably doesn't move to Disney Plus till the start of 2029.
Yeah, so because I don't imagine these they're going to have this forever. I don't imagine it's you have the lifetime streaming rights unless they keep renewing the deal.
Yeah,
which is why I'm saying if the deal runs out and they don't renew it, and movies that come out in 2027 don't go to Disney Plus after this window, then how long are the movies that are there from the end of 2026 once they move to Disney Plus after that 18th month window? How long are they then there for before they expire? I don't know.
Yeah, so, it's the sort of thing where, as a rule, you assume there's the standard minimum 1 year on your service that you tend to get.
Yeah, but you presume, though, that the stuff from 2022 that's going to be there by, say, the end of 2023, that'll be at least there till the end of 2026 because this deal's still going to be running.
You would assume so, yes. Yeah.
I mean, the bigger news here for people who care is that it does mean that the Spider-Man movies will make their way to Disney Plus with the rest of the Marvel stuff, which they currently are not contained with them. Perhaps the more interesting thing, outside of just streaming rights, which is a really boring topic, to be honest, is that this probably means that the relationship with Disney and Sony, and more importantly perhaps Marvel and Sony, is healthy. And
it's in a better place than we expected a couple of years ago, yeah.
So it might mean that, like a new deal for more Spider-Man collaboration after their current 2-movie deal is maybe more likely now because they've got all this in place where they've got a home on Disney Plus after a certain period of time, so there's more there's more of a money interweaving reason to stay together. So that's kind of what I take from it.
Yeah, makes sense.
More than anything. I don't really care where Morbius is going to be to stream in 2022, 2023, 2024, or beyond, for that matter.
Are you not going to watch Morbius as soon as you possibly can?
I mean, I'm sure I'll end up reviewing the bloody thing, but I don't I'm not looking forward to it.
So you're not gonna like rewatch it every couple of years?
If I want to rewatch Morbius, I will be shocked, and it will be the biggest like surprise hit that I've ever had. If I want to watch Morbius a second time.
Well, stranger things have happened.
Next up,
Maybe.
Chloe Coleman, who was the little kid from My Spy with Batista. I don't know if I never saw it, but I don't remember the poster.
I saw the trailers a lot.
Yeah, she's got she's got big hair. She's very very distinct look. So she is going to be in a new movie with Chris Pine. It's an untitled film adaptation of Dungeons and Dragons, which we knew was in development, but this is like our leads effectively. So this is Hasbro's wildly popular game franchise from Wizards of the Coast. Also starring Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, Bridgerton star Reggie Jean Page, maybe Reggie Jean Page. I'm going to say it's Jean, because Reggie also sounds like a French-looking name. Also Hugh Grant and Sophia Lillis are involved. So
it's quite a cast, to be fair.
Yeah, they're keeping the plot wrapped up. Obviously, it's Dungeons and Dragons. You can maybe imagine a bunch of things that'll be in it, but the actual plot that they're going to go with is very different, of course. So, and apparently, it mentions here that this actress, the kid, she's going to she's in Avatar 2. That's a little note at the end of the article. She's going to be in Avatar 2. I was like, oh, okay.
When she was about 5 years younger.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. What age was she when she shot Avatar 2?
Be completely unrecognizable now.
Yeah, very odd. And she's also just wrapped a film called 65, which is a Sony film, a sci-fi thriller starring Adam Driver. So, clearly, this is, the kid's getting around and going to be a star. So she's going to be a household name before long.
Yeah, one of those that everyone will probably know in 3 or 4 years' time.
Yeah, so that's neat. So, moving on, we have No One Will Save You, which is from Brian Duffield, who he had like 3 films come out last year that he wrote, but he actually also directed one of them. So he wrote the script for Underwater, which was kind of mediocre. He wrote the script for Love and Monsters, which I heard okay things. I haven't seen it, but
I've heard very mixed things.
But more importantly, he wrote and directed one of my biggest surprises of 2020, which was Spontaneous, which was positively delightful in every possible way, but surprisingly kind of heartfelt and like Spontaneous. It's worth a watch. If you're into like, it's even weird to call it a horror comedy, because I'd argue that it's barely even that. The premise of the film is just that people start spontaneously combusting in a high school, and but it's not like blood and guts. It's like a paint explosion. Well, no, I mean it is blood, but like the way they pop, it's not like an explosion. Like when you think of spontaneous combustion, you think, I don't know, fire. You think, yeah. This is more just like a balloon popping.
I'm thinking of like the heads in the first Kingsman movie.
Kind of, yeah. But it's more about how the main character, who's the girl from 13 Reasons Why, and the main boy, and how they're kind of falling for each other. The whole thing's it's very metaphorical.
When you said it was a real surprise,
yeah,
was that because it looked bad? Like, did the trailer look like really, give you low expectations, or just the premise was like, whatever? I
thought the trailer looked fine, but I wasn't expecting to come out of it loving it. And I think me and Tim on streams, because it was, again, very tangentially horror because of the premise, but it's not really a horror movie, to be honest, when you actually watch it. We were both raving about it. We thought it was wonderful. So I highly recommend Spontaneous. But anyway, so Duffield's next film, which he's going to write and direct, is called No One Will Save You. We don't know what genre it is. Is the premise has been held under wraps. It's a 20th Century Studios film, so I see they're still making movies, even though Disney is now their overlords. But Caitlin Deaver has been cast as well in the lead role. So we don't know what it's about yet, but director and writer are Spontaneous. Caitlin Deaver's a good actress.
Sure. I mean, I can't vouch for the the right director personally, but I like her. She tends to be pretty good in things.
Mm-hmm.
So sure, I'll ride your enthusiasm and be, but I'll keep this on the radar.
Yeah. So we'll see. I hope, you know what, I kind of hope it's something happy. I feel like I've seen her in a lot of really miserable, depressing things. The one exception was Booksmart, where she got to smile for once.
She was very good in Booksmart.
She was very good in Booksmart. I was up and down in that movie, but she was good in it. But other than that, I know her from Unbelievable on Netflix, and wasn't she also in Short Term 12? She was younger in it, but I think that was her that was in that.
I think that was her, yeah.
Which are both very serious, like depressing roles of, you know, a dark, you know, a character goes through a really dark time and, like, you know, a lot to take in. So yeah, give her a happy plot, please. I just want to know she's okay.
You just want to make sure she's not typecast.
Next up, Netflix is nearing a deal for Shout It Out Loud, a film that is going to be basically a biopic of Kiss. You know, it was to do for Kiss what Bohemian Rhapsody did for Queen, according to Deadline. So
it's a shame Gene Simmons is a bit of a dick.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to be involved because he's still very much got his fingers in the pie when it comes to all these things. The script is written by Ole Sanders. Earlier draft was by William Blake Herron. The film will be co-produced by Mark Shannon's Atmosphere Entertainment and Universal Music Group. It's called Shout It Out Loud. Yes. And we'll have cooperation from Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. The band's concert unit anthems will be a big part of this, but the film will focus on the duo going back to when they were two misfit kids from Queens who formed an unlikely friendship, starting Kiss after enlisting guitarist Ace Frehley. Really? Is it Frehley? How do you pronounce that?
I don't know off the top of my head without looking at it.
And drummer Peter Criss. Try to set themselves apart from the hair bands of the day. They accented their power chords and pyrotechnics with makeup. At heart, the formative story is in the vein of The Commitments, if the Irish soul band employed makeup and spiked heels. Sure, it's Bohemian Rhapsody with Kiss.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care much for Kiss musically. They're fine. Marketing geniuses, I will say. Yeah, merchandising geniuses as well, specifically. Because everyone knows Kiss, right? There are people who couldn't tell you a single Kiss song, but would recognize that, you know, the makeup, just the look.
It takes some people longer than others, though. For example, if you see graffiti on the wall that says Kiss Rocks and someone says, Kiss Rocks? Why would anyone want to Kiss Rocks?
Move on.
That's for the
next story.
That's for an episode of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Willow said that.
Move on right now.
It's the episode where all the parents start acting like teenagers, and that's why the music of a different generation, you see. All right, next up, Amy Garcia, who was an actress in Lucifer, and I definitely saw her in something. I want to say maybe Dexter, but I'm not 100%. But the news here though is that she's actually writing something. She's co-writing something with AJ Mendez, who's also notable because AJ Mendez, otherwise known as AJ Lee, was a wrestler. That's a CM Punk's wife. So we have two ladies here who, one known as an actor, one known as a wrestler, although AJ has written a book, but her book wasn't like a fictional book. It was like a book on, I think it was on mental health. She wrote a book about and her struggles with I'll just say mental health. I can't remember specifically what she went through. I don't want to misdiagnose, but so they're teaming up to write an untitled sequel to 47 Ronin. This is such a weird story. This is an actress from a couple of TV shows and a wrestler are co-writing a sequel to a movie that came out in the 90s. Was it the 90s?
I don't think so.
No, I'm thinking. I'm just thinking.
This is the terrible Keanu Reeves one, right?
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of Ronin. I'm thinking with the Jean Reno.
No. 47 Ronin's the definitely not mythical take on this Japanese story, which became a Keanu Reeves White Savior movie. I mean, it's 2013, so it's still a while ago, but yeah, but still, like, not what I would have expected from this story.
Yeah. So I
take it you've never seen this movie.
Oh, of course I've not seen it.
Yeah, don't. It's terrible.
It looked terrible.
I say that as someone who enjoys terrible trash when it comes to this genre, and it's not good.
They're saying sequel. I suspect this is just going to be based loosely on the same thing, and it'll be more of a reboot where they try to get away from the white savior part of it.
Soft remake.
Yes, that would be my guess.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, really weird story. This is a weird thing. It was like two names from different things. Well, I mean, okay, Amy Garcia was still involved in TV and stuff, but not known for writing. So it was just kind of a weird mix of like names and concept, and okay. I mean,
and then you throw in this movie of all things.
What's next? Chef Boyardee and Graham Norton are going to write a sequel to The Exorcist. That's what this read like to me.
Graham Norton could kill that.
Anywho, so moving on. All right, so Constantine Film, who are the awful studio behind the Resident Evil films, they've acquired the rights to Lee Goldberg's script The Walk, which he adapted from his own novel, same name. In The Walk, after an apocalyptic earthquake, a studio executive, and again, this is still the plot of the movie, this is not me going into who's behind the movie, a studio executive is making his way by foot from downtown LA to the San Fernando Valley to find his family, and has reluctantly teamed up with an unusual traveler going in the same direction. Nothing is as it seems, and the walk proves to be full of unexpected traps and challenges.
Why don't you just take a bus?
Is after an apocalyptic earthquake. Did you miss that part?
I know, I was kidding.
The description of the book describes it as part adventure, part horror, part comedy. Just to give you a sense of the feel.
So it has no tone, is what you're telling me.
I think the premise sounds fine. I just need to know what the actual feeling is of it. Like, a character and a stranger, presumably he's going to learn something about himself. Like, I would not be shocked if he finds out by the end that he's already dead and this has all been in his head. Like, it could easily be that.
God.
It could easily be that with that premise. The stranger's not real. The stranger's in his head. I don't know. Like, all these things are possible. They might not be. It could be more of a straight thing where it's just a bit tense. Like, can he trust him? Can he not? That's also possible. All fine ideas. But I don't know from this what the feeling of it is.
I'm sure you'll get a cheap-looking trailer at some point.
Given the studio behind it, I mean, that's not unlikely. And then to wrap up, we do have one trailer that I want to look at here. Sometimes I just pick a big trailer, of course, if one comes out. And I say pick. When there's a big trailer, I don't really pick it. It's just like, obviously, we have to talk about the big trailer.
The universe has picked it for you.
But sometimes I'll see like little trailers, and I won't necessarily always grab one because I don't necessarily feel like I'll have much to say or whatever. But I saw a trailer for this Netflix film, this French Netflix film called Oxygen, and I was curious because it said it was directed by Alexander Aja, who's done some things in his time. I like high tension a fair bit. I don't really necessarily like any of the Western film. I mean, Western just mean American, just for the
not the genre.
Not. Well, it was more so that I don't really consider France, Eastern. is kind of what the point I was making.
Yeah, that would be a weird thing. Non-European is maybe what you're trying to say.
It's further east than I am, so Eastern.
Objectively true.
So it's Eastern. Anyway, this is about it's a science fiction thriller. Think Buried, but instead of a crypt or a grave, it's a woman who wakes up in like a cryosleep pod, and there's like an AI computer in the pod that won't open the pod, and she has amnesia. She has no idea who she is, and it's her using the built-in computer. And clearly it has like sort of vague flashbacks to things that she's either remembering things or whatever. This is just based on the trailer, because they're very dreamlike and whatever. And it's this seemingly tense thriller of her trying to figure out why she's there. And honestly, I couldn't help but shake the feeling that, because it looks like in some of the flashbacks she's doing like tests with rats and mazes and things like that. And I'm like, this is her testing herself. She's done this to herself, and this is all about her forcing herself to figure out how to get out. That's how I felt, but. It seems like she's waking up in the future, And the actress who whose name I don't have in front of me, but oh no, do I? Melanie Laurent. She was in Inglourious Basterds. For anyone who,
Okay.
may know her from that.
I will say that there is truly nothing scarier than an AI with a French accent.
Oh, you need to watch Alphaville.
That sounds like I really don't.
It's like just a French accent. It's a really like the voice. I hated it. I hated the voice in that movie. I had no problem. The voice in this movie's fine. But the voice in Alphaville is this really earthy, like
obscenely French,
deep French voice. It was really off-putting. You could practically.
Actually, to be fair, I think the movie looks alright.
Yeah, I think this looks fine. Obviously, this is something me and Tara will probably do on Ace. I think it's an interesting concept because Buried in itself was an interesting movie set entirely inside a coffin with Ryan Reynolds. I think the idea of giving her a little bit more to interact with because it's got like all this fancy tech, and we can sort of play with like is she like thousands of years in the future? Is it really just present day Earth and this is just a test? I don't know, but they both seem like plausible outcomes at the end of the movie.
They do, yeah.
Based on the trailer. And I think that adds a bit of unpredictability to it. That I think is kind of cool. I mean, will it actually be good? It's hard to tell. It's hard to gauge that in just a trailer.
I do like the visual style of it, though. It had a strong look to it, which, when presumably most of your movie is going to be inside that chamber, I think having a good, strong look for that is important. Yeah,
it's a high concept bottle movie, essentially. Like a really bottle movie. It's about as bottle as you can bottle a movie.
More or less, yeah.
Because a bottle movie is usually, one location. This is the one little human-sized pod.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
it just depends how intense it goes on the flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I'm curious about it. So, yeah. Check it out. It's called Oxygen. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but...
Should be on Netflix's YouTube page.
Yes, it will be. And it's coming to Netflix on the 12th of May, so not even too long till it comes out either. So you can check that out when it hits. But that is it. That wraps up the news for the day. So hopefully some of that was remotely interesting and or exciting. You can tell us what you thought was cool in the comments below. Like and subscribe. It is the easiest way to support everything we do and the free way to support everything we do on YouTube, and it helps us out a lot if you do that. You can of course also support us financially and directly by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and giving us as little as $1 per month, and that helps keep all the content coming and ensures our survival in these trying times. I mean, be Daya DeVito for lots of other reasons, but don't be Daya DeVito by offering an egg in this trying time. I don't want any of it.
I'll take an egg.
I hate eggs. So
you can have the chocolate eggs. I'll have the real eggs.
Oh, I like the Cadbury's mini eggs, but the cream eggs I hate.
I just meant regular Easter eggs. They're just the hollow chocolate.
Oh, they're nice. That's just chocolate. Of course not. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. You can have those because that's not my area anymore, and I will stick with the regular eggs.
Oh dear. That's been the news, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you next time.